Good morning, my astrology friends. Once again, I'm here with a new video. This time a video about the upcoming full moon in Libra. This full moon in Libra will happen at the 12th or 13th of April, depending on where you live. Here on this part of the world, in Southeastern Asia, it's going to happen on the 12th. If you go further west, it's going to happen on the 13th, early part of the 13th of April. This full moon is part of the eclipse that happened 2 weeks ago in the sign of Aries. That partial solar eclipse is a new moon solar eclipse happen in Aries, and automatically we're going to have a full moon that is part of that eclipse in the sign opposite of Aries, which in this case in the sign of Libra, a full moon. Not an eclipse, but just a full moon. But this full moon is rather special because it is in pair with that eclipse that happened two weeks ago. But also this full moon, if you look at the aspects towards this full moon, is going to square Mars this full moon. So it's rather challenging because everything that's going to involve Mars will create some trigger or some sort. In this case, Mars is in the sign of Cancer. Mars is not very good in the sign of Cancer. In fact, Mars is in its fall in the sign of Cancer. This full moon is quite okay in terms of the dignity of the full moon. Moon in Libra is fine, it's okay. Not only that, the depositor or the ruler of this full moon, which is Venus, is also in a good state. Venus is in the sign of Pisces, the sign of its exaltation. It's very powerful here. Not only that, in the same day as this full moon, Venus is going to stations direct, because Venus has, since the month of March, Venus has retrograde. This time Venus is going direct. So this is a very good news for the ruler of this full moon, which is Venus. Even though Venus is a bit in a dicey situation, stuck between the North Node and Saturn, still Venus in Pisces is very powerful. So this is still a good thing. So this full moon will not force, but of course everything that is square to Mars we can feel as if it were forced to us, but this full moon alone will show us what we need to let go, or at least will show us in which part of our lives that things that are no longer working for us, and we need to re-examine that. In this case, full moon is traditionally in astrology considered to be a time of letting go. Not only that, the challenge will come from Mars in Cancer, but part of the solution will come from the position of Venus, which is very powerful in Pisces. All of this configuration will create something, or will create a decision for each and every one of us, but it's going to be different depending on our natal chart and depending on our signs, in this case rising signs. So I will try to explain in general what will happen to each of the rising signs on this full moon in Libra. Okay, let's start from the first rising sign. We're going to go to Aries. For Aries, the full moon is going to happen opposite you, which in this case the sign of Libra, in the house of 7. Seventh house is the house of relationship, marriage, contract, is also the house of the market. If you're a trader, it's also the house of your audience. If you're doing something that involves audience. The full moon is going to happen in the 7th house, while the challenging part, which is Mars in Cancer, will happen in your 4th house. It's about family, mothers, ancestry, home, property, of course. While the dispositor of this full moon, which is Venus, is in your 12th house, which is in the house of isolation, mental health, the house of sleep, the house of dream. The house is basically the house of rest, and the house where the unseen things not necessarily come to the surface, but we're aware of the unseen things. It's the house where traditional astrologer call it the house of the undoing, because this is where our subconscious came to light. So when it comes to Aries rising, there's something in your relationship, your marriage, your partnership that you need to let go. The challenge of that letting go will come from the fourth house: family, home, property, motherhood. But the solution will come from part of the solution will come from the position of Venus in your 12th house, which is your subconscious. The hidden things is also the realm of the spirituality, the realm of, you can say, the realm of God, together with the ninth house. So my advice, if you're facing something or you want to let go of something in your 7th house relative to relationship or marriage, then you would need to go to your 12th house for part of the solution. But you should be aware that the challenge will come, the challenge of that letting go, 7th house, will come from your 4th house, where Mars is in, right? Will come from your family, property, stuff like that. Will come from your mother, because the 4th house can also associate with mother. So be aware of that. 7th house is the releasing point, 4th house is the challenging point, and the 12th house is your subconscious. So part of the solution will come from your subconscious, will come from your isolation. So contemplate on what I need to release in terms of the 7th house. Okay, for the second rising sign, we'll go to Taurus. For Taurus rising, the letting go part, which is the full moon in Libra, will happen in your 6th house. This is the house that governs things that have to do with health, with your chores, day-to-day activity, with your work, the details of your work, right? It's also the house of pets, rentals. Death also can be seen here. Enemies can also be seen here. In the 6th house, this is the full moon in Libra. There are things that you need to let go relative to this house. And then the challenge will come from the 3rd house. The 3rd house is your siblings, communication, skills. This is also the house of social media, the house of knowledge, of course. So the challenge will come from Mars in the 3rd house, while the solution, part of the solution for Taurus rising will come in your 11th house, because Pisces, Venus in Pisces is currently in your 11th house, very powerful. 11th house is your friends, is your dreams, hopes, is the gains that you got from your 10th house. It's also social media. So there's something in your, for example, I will give you an example, how to connect the dots of these 3 houses. There's something that you need to let go in terms of your work, because the 6th house is work. But the challenge will come from the 3rd house, knowledge, skills. But part of the solution will come from the 11th house, your friends. Maybe your friends will help you, or your networking, or your network will help you in releasing, or at least you will be aware because of them, of something in your 6th house that is no longer serving you in terms of work. But the challenge will come from the 3rd house, is also the house of skills. Maybe you need to upgrade your skills, right? Upgrade your knowledge, because the 3rd house is also knowledge. Remember, Mars in the 3rd house, one of the main characteristic of Mars, wherever it is that Mars wants to cut. So there's something in the 3rd house, something in realms of your knowledge that needs to be cut, or no longer suitable for you. Or Mars can also upgrade, because Mars is drive, persistence. It wants to get something. So maybe the problem is in your 6th house. The thing that you want to let go is in the 6th house. The problem is your knowledge or skills in the 3rd house, represented by Mars. But the solution could come from your friends or network in the 11th house. That's the example of how to connect the dots of these 3 houses for you, Taurus. The 3rd sign is Gemini. For Gemini rising, the Libra full moon will happen in your 5th house. This is quite good. right? While the part of the solution, or the ruler of this full moon, which is Venus, exalted, is in Pisces, in your 10th house, in your house of career. But the challenge will come from Mars in Cancer in your second house. Okay, so second house is money, right? Resources. It's also about our self-worth, all right? The fifth house is creativity, happiness, romance, love. It's also about children. It's the house of joy, basically. The 10th house is career, is public image. So there's something that you need to let go that no longer serves you in the fifth house. Part of the solution of this letting go is in the 10th house, your career. Venus is there. But the challenge will come from the second house, money. So maybe there's something, let me give you an example for you, Gemini rising. Fifth house is hobbies. Maybe there are some hobbies that you need to let go, full moon in Libra. That hobbies you need to let go because it squares Mars in Cancer in the second house because of money. Maybe that hobby is expensive, right? Second house, Mars in Cancer, money, right? The solution will come, part of the solution will come from Venus in the 10th house. 10th house is career, right? Maybe there's something in your career that could boost your income, so you could have more money to enjoy that hobbies, 5th house. But at the same time, if you lost that hobby due to money, you can focus your energy on the career sector, 10th house, Venus. 5th, 2nd, 10th, that's how you connect the dots. That's some of the example. So it can be anything, but it will be connecting, or it would be correlating with the 5th house as the point of release, the 2nd house as the point of challenge, and the 10th house as the point of part of the solution. Okay, we will go to the next sign, which is the 4th sign, Cancer. For Cancer rising, the full moon is going to happen in Libra in your 4th house. This is about family, house, home, property. It's also about your ancestry. This is also can be seen as the house of mother, right? This is your emotional foundation. That is the point of release, full moon in Libra in your 4th house, Cancer rising. But the point of challenge will come from yourself, Mars in Cancer in the 1st house, you. What about the point of release? The point of release will have. What about the point of help, or the point of solution? Part of a solution will come from the ruler of this full moon, which is in Venus, that is currently transiting your 9th house. Venus is very powerful here in the 9th house. So you need to let go of something in your home, in terms of family, in terms of emotional foundation. But the challenge will come from you. Maybe you're resistant to it. But part of the solution could come, one of the solution could come from the 9th house, where Venus is in. The 9th house is about the belief of life. What do we believe in our life? So whether you believe you're going to be rich, or you believe you're going to be poor, all of that is governed in the 9th house. The 9th house is basically the higher belief. So the higher knowledge is where we it is where we look at how we navigate life through our beliefs. This is the 9th house. So maybe when it comes to letting go of family matters, 4th house, you're hesitant or you're challenging it, 1st house, Mars in Cancer and 1st house, because you're Cancer rising, because you're not looking at your beliefs, the 9th house. Because Venus in Pisces is very powerful here in the 9th house, re-examine your beliefs. Maybe you could find solution there. That's what I'm talking about, Cancer. So you need to let go the 4th house. The challenge is from the 1st house, you, and part of the solution could come from your 9th house. So this is for Cancer. Let's go to the next sign. Okay, for the next sign, we will go to Leo. Okay, for Leo, the full moon in Libra will happen in your 3rd house. 3rd house is siblings, communications, skills, knowledge. Social media is also here. It's also traveling, but short distance, like a commute, is also can be related to your vehicles. The third house, Leo, for Leo rising, the point of challenge is going to happen from your 12th house, subconscious. This is the house of subconscious, the house of mental health, the house of isolation, house of sleep. It's also the house of spirituality. It's also the house of things that we cannot see. It's the house of hidden things, the house where the universe hides things from us. Remember, the 12th house is where the universe hides things from us. The 8th house is a place where we hide something. That is the challenge. The solution will come from the 8th house because Venus is currently in Pisces. Pisces is your 8th house. 8th house is also the house of subconscious. So there is some correlation between this 12th house here for you, Leo rising, and also the 8th house. The theme is subconscious. The theme is mental health. The theme is psychology. So you need to let go of the third house, which is knowledge, siblings, social media, communication. The challenge will come from your subconscious 12th house, mental health, but the solution is also, part of the solution could also come from the 8th house. It's also about mental health, subconscious. It's also about things that are hidden. So so I will advise Leo, if you need to release something in terms of the third house matters because of this full moon in Libra, re-examine your mind or re-examine your thoughts. That is what I'm trying to say. Re-examine your thought. Maybe there's something in your thoughts, in your mind, in your subconscious that is limiting you or hindering you on that department of the third house, that is challenging the third house, that is refusing to release something that is no longer serving your purpose from the third house. Because the solution could come from there. Also, the 8th house, which is also the house of the subconscious. But also remember, the 8th house is also the house of money. Maybe there's something regarding money, but in this case, other people's money, investments, excuse me, investments, stock exchange, and also insurance, debt. It could also be part of the solution, right, for you, Leo rising. The 8th house is also the house of the occult. Maybe astrology could offer you solution for this if you have something that you need to let go in terms of the third house matters, third house things. Okay, this is for Leo. Let's go to the next sign. Okay, for the next sign, we will go to Virgo. For Virgo rising, the full moon in Libra will happen in your second house. This is the house of money, resources. Basically, this is the house of one of the house of wealth. So there's something regarding your money, resources, or wealth that you need to let go. I'm not saying that you will lose money, even though you can. You just need to be aware of your financial situations. That's what this full moon in Libra is going to highlight. The challenge will come, yes, the challenge, which is Mars in Cancer, will come from your 11th house, right? Because for Virgo, Leo is your 12th house, and then Cancer in your 11th house. 11th house is also the house of money, but this is money from gains. And the 11th house also governs your friends, governs your social media and networking, hopes and dreams also. So there's going to be challenge from your friendship maybe, but at the same time, part of the solution will come from Pisces. Pisces, Venus in Pisces, which is the ruler of this full moon, is very powerful. Venus in Pisces is currently in your 7th house for Virgo rising, because Virgo and Pisces are part of the axis of karma, or axis of Virgo Pisces is part of the axis of release. Virgo is traditionally 6th house, release through service, and Pisces is the 12th house, release through isolation and mental things. So because it's in the 7th house, Venus is in the 7th house, and Venus is very powerful here, so the solution could come from your partnership, from your marriage, if you're married. So for example, you have a financial things that you need to let go, 2nd house, full moon in Libra, but the challenge will come from your friends. Maybe your friends or networking said to you, no, don't let it go. Maybe that could be something there. But because part of the solution is Venus in the 7th, maybe your partner will advise you differently. So if, in my opinion, if you have something that you need to release connecting to the 2nd house, look for the advice from your partner first. 7th house Venus, because the ruler of this full moon is in the 7th house, and the ruler is very powerful. Look for advice from your partner first, because the challenge will come from your friends. 11th house, Mars and Cancer in the 11th house. So connect the dots. 2nd as the point of release, 11th house as the point of challenge from Mars, and Venus, which is in Pisces, the ruler of this full moon, is in your 7th house, your partnership. So if you have something that you need to let go relative to this 2nd house, ask your partner first before you ask your friends. That's basically it. Okay, let's go to the next sign. Okay, for the next sign, we will go to Libra. Okay, the full moon here will happen in Libra. Libra, you're going to be in the spotlight. For Libra rising, the full moon is going to happen in your 1st house. This is the house of the self, the house of the body, the house of the aura. This is the house of the personality. This is basically you. You are the full moon. The challenge will come from Mars and Cancer in the 10th, from your career, for your public image, public persona. This is about what you project to other people, even though the 1st house is also what you project to other people, but 10th house is more about the legacy of that projection. The solution will come, part of the solution will come from the exalted Venus, which is also happens to be your ruler. You and Taurus, both of your ruler, Venus rules Libra and also Taurus, right? Your ruler, and also the ruler of this full moon, is in the 6th house. It's the house of work. Very powerful, Venus here. So there's something in your personality, in your body, something in you that needs to be released. Full moon in Libra, you. The challenge will come from your career, your public image. So maybe there's something in the old part of you that is highlighted by this full moon that needs to be released, but you're not comfortable because it will affect your career or your public image, 10th house. But the solution will come from the 6th house, because your ruler is there, and the 6th house contains a very powerful Venus, your ruler. So maybe instead of afraid due to public image or due to your career, because of the letting go of something in you, you need to focus on your mind and body. Focus on the balance of your mind and body. Why? Because Pisces, Venus in Pisces in the 6th house screams self-care. It's about self-care. It's also about your work, your day-to-day grind, your day-to-day things. It's also about your health. So focus on that instead of worrying about what will happen relative to this full moon from your 10th house. So for Libra, realize that something needs to let go. You need to let go something in your 1st house. Realize that it is for the better, for your mind and body, for self-care. Venus in the 6th house. Yes, it will affect your public image, 10th house. It will affect your career in some sort, because Venus in Cancer in the 10th. But because the universe wants you to release it through this full moon, and the ruler of it in the 6th house, just realize that this is for the greater good, because it will lead you to a more balanced life. It will lead you to a more self-care life, caring more for yourself, Libra. Okay, let's go to the next sign. For the next sign, we will go to Scorpio. For Scorpio, this full moon in Libra will happen in your 12th house. This is the house of isolation, mental health. This is also the house of the self-undoing. This is the house of the subconscious. Full moon is there. It wants you to release something in your mind that is no longer serving you. Basically, it's screaming for you to take care of your mental health. Full moon in Libra for Scorpio rising in the 12th house. The challenge will come, right? The challenge will come from your 9th house, because Mars and Cancer in the 9th house, right? the challenge will come from there. Ninth house is about traveling, it's about knowledge. Wisdom is also about the self-belief, higher belief. So it's about religion, it's about the philosophy of life, how you navigate life. The philosophy of how you navigate life can be seen in the ninth house. But the solution will come from the fifth house. Venus in Pisces, very powerful in the fifth house. Venus really loves fifth house. Fifth house is one of the house that really boosts the power of Venus. So for Scorpio rising, the solution, part of the solution of this releasing of the 12th house, the releasing of the baggage of your mind, could come from creativity, could come from the enjoyment of life, which is Venus in Pisces in the fifth house. Enjoy life more. That's basically what this full moon is screaming. Because if we look at the rulership, 12th house, the ruler in the fifth, full moon, release anything that is related to the 12th house that no longer serves you. And because the ruler is in the fifth, release it through the fifth house. Things that are connected to the fifth house, the house of enjoyment. Enjoy yourself. The challenge will come from the ninth house. The ninth house is basically about how you go about in life in terms of the philosophy of life and the self-belief. So examine also your self-belief. Examine also how you navigate life in terms of your mindset. Basically, this is about the mindset. The mindset is challenging you on this. So ask yourself, is my mindset in terms of life is sufficient for me to release my mental health issues, 12th house? And that mindset could also help you to enjoy the fifth house, which is part of the solution, or part of the because the fifth house is where the ruler of the 12th house, the ruler of this full moon is. So part of the enjoyment of the fifth house also depends on how you conduct your philosophy of life, which is the ninth house. So for Scorpio rising, 12th house is the release point, full moon. Fifth house is part of the solution, house of enjoyment, where Venus is. And the ninth house, which is the house of philosophy of life, is where the challenge could come from, because Mars is there. Okay, let's go to the next sign. Next sign we will go to Sagittarius. For Sagittarius rising, the releasing point, which is full moon in Libra, will happen in your 11th house. 11th house is your friendship, your hopes and dreams. Is also the house of gains and network. That is the point of release, full moon, the point of awareness also. And then the ruler, which is Venus, part of resolution, will be in your 4th house, family. Venus in Pisces is very powerful in your home life, because the 4th house is the house of home, is also the house of family, the house of ancestry, the house of motherhood, right? And then the challenge will come from the 8th house. The challenge will come from the 8th house. This is where Mars in Cancer is. Mars is challenging you from the 8th house. So connect those dots. Point of release, 11th house, friendship. Maybe there are some friends that you need to release. 11th house is also related to social media. Point of release, right? Networking. There are things that you need to release on those themes. The challenge will come from the 8th house. The 8th house is your subconscious. Yeah. 8th house is also things that related to your psychology. 8th house is also the things related to money. But 8th house is other people's money. So maybe there's something related to your network that involve money in it, because the 8th house is other people's money. But the solution will come from your family, your home, your emotional foundation, Venus, part of the solution. Venus in the 4th. Sorry. So just for me, for example, you're having problems with your friends, 11th house. You need to let go of some friendship, right? The challenge would come from your 8th house. Maybe you owe your friends some money, other people's money, Mars in the 8th, right? The solution could come from your family, or could come from your home, could also come from your emotional foundation, Venus in Pisces, and the fourth house. Maybe your family could help you with this, right? So that's some of the examples. Other examples will depend on your natal chart, but in general, the fourth house is where you could find a solution. What part of a solution for this full moon in Libra, the releasing point, and the challenge will come from the 8th house, Mars in Cancer. Okay, Sagittarius, let's go to the next sign. Next sign we will go to Capricorn. For Capricorn rising, the full moon in Libra will happen in your 10th house. The challenge, which is Cancer, Mars in Cancer, will happen in your 7th house. And for the solution or part of a solution, which is the ruler of this full moon, will come from Venus exalted in Pisces in your 3rd house. So there's something in your career that you need to release, public image also here, that you need to release, or at least you're aware of, that you need to let go. But the challenge would come from your partnership and your marriage, which is the 7th house, Mars and Cancer in the 7th house. So maybe your partner doesn't agree with this. But the solution could come from the 3rd house. Part of the solution could come from the 3rd house, Venus and Pisces in the 3rd house. What is the 3rd house? Communication. Maybe you need to communicate more with your partner regarding releasing something in your 10th house. So connect the dots, 10, 7, and the 3rd house. Point of release, full moon in Libra in the 10th. Point of contention or challenge is Mars in Cancer in the 7th. And point of help would be Venus in Pisces in the 3rd. So you need to communicate something with your partner regarding releasing something in your 10th house. Okay, Capricorn, let's go to the next sign. Okay, for the next sign, we will go to Aquarius. This is the 11th sign. For Aquarius, the point of release will be in your 9th house, full moon in Libra in the 9th, right? Point of contention will be in the 6th house, Mars in Cancer in the 6th, and point of, excuse me, point of help, or the help will come from Venus in Pisces in your 2nd house. So there's something in your 9th house that you need to let go, or you should be aware of. But the challenge will come from your 6th house, health, daily routines, your work. But the help could come from the 2nd house, which is money. So maybe you wanted to travel, 9th house, but there's something wrong with it. So the full moon will make you aware of it. Maybe you need to let go of this traveling plan. Why? Because the challenge will come from the 6th house. 6th house is work, 6th house is health. Maybe there's something in your work that you cannot let go that will affect your travel plans, or maybe your health will affect your travel plans. Maybe even your pets, because 6th house is pets, could challenge your travel plans. But part of the solution would come from the 6th house, Venus in Pisces in the 6th house, very powerful. So maybe you could just, okay, reschedule, and you have money for it, because the 6th house is the house of money. So if there is challenges in the 9th house, because the ruler of the 9th for this full moon is in the 2nd, so money will be involved in it. And because Venus is very powerful here in the 6th house, in the 2nd house currently, so maybe you would have additional money to make your travel plans come true. So 9th house, 6th house, and the 2nd house. So there's something in your 9th house that you need to let go, and then 6th house is where the challenges comes from, and the 2nd house is where part of the solution will come from. In this case, money. So if you have travel plans and that travel plans is blocked by the 6th house things, rest assured that the 2nd house, which is the house where Venus is in currently, will help you. Maybe you will have additional money to finally get that dream vacation that you wanted. But first of all, this full moon will make you aware of the 9th house things that you need to let go. Okay, let's go to the next sign. Okay, for the last sign, we will go to Pisces. For Pisces rising, the full moon in Libra will happen in your 8th house. 8th house is the house of other people's money, it's the house of the occult, it's the house of psychology, is the house of subconscious, it's the house of the occult, dark things, house of transformation. Challenge is also the house of death, right? The challenge, the letting go point is here in the 8th house, full moon in Libra. The challenge will come for you. Mars in Cancer will come in from the 5th house. 5th house is creativity, joy, children. It's also the house of gambling. It's the house of fun and happiness. It's the house of romance and love. The challenge could come from this house. It's also the house of your children. Part of resolution, Venus, which is the ruler of the full moon, is exalted, is in the 1st house, you. So you could be part of resolution. Your decision could be part of resolution, because Venus in Pisces in the 1st house, the ruler of the full moon, is in the 1st house, which is you. So there's something in your 8th house that you need to release. Maybe there's some emotional, psychological baggage that you need to release, or at least you're aware of because of this full moon. The challenge will come from the 5th house. The challenge will come from the 5th house. Mars in Cancer in the 5th house, right? So maybe there's something, a challenge come from your children, or you're from hobbies, or you're from happiness. But the point of help or part of resolution will come from yourself. For example, you have money problems because the 8th house is money. The full moon in Libra will make you aware of that money problem. The 8th house. 8th house is the house of money in terms of other people's money. For example, like investments, right? You have something in regards to investments that you want to release. 8th house. The challenge will come from the 5th house. 5th house is gambling. 5th house is children. So there's something regarding your children that force you not to let go of those things, or force you to just take a hard look on it. But because the solution is in Venus in the 1st house, you can make that decision in a calm manner. Venus in Pisces is very calm, in a very spiritual manner, right? But also in a very relaxed but also very intuitive manner. Venus in Pisces in the 1st house. That is how Venus works if it's in Pisces. And because this is you in the 1st house, that's how you approach this full moon. So because the 8th house is the house that can be sudden, can be challenging, right? And a square from the 5th house is the house of happiness, house of joy, right? So part of resolution is you go to Venus, which is in your 1st house. Be calm, collected. Ask for the divine help, or just basically focus on what's important and go with the flow, right? But at the same time, be mindful and just know that the universe will have your back. That's what I'm trying to say, because the 8th house, point of release, full moon in Libra, challenged by Mars in Cancer in the 5th house, right? And part of the solution is Venus in the 1st house in you. So you are the solution. You can be the solution for whatever you want to release in this full moon in Libra in your 8th house. So either you going to make a decision, or you let other people make a decision. But according to the configuration for Pisces rising, part of resolution, which is Venus, is you. So just have that in mind. Okay, this is my general explanation regarding the full moon in Libra for Pisces and for the rest of the 12 signs.